Welcome to Phil Phails. My name is Philip Jones, and today my guest is Mary Richardson-Perez.
Hello.
She is the founder and co-owner of Satya, Studio Satya, and we're going to work on that pronunciation during this talk. She's also a yoga teacher and a social work intern on the way to becoming an LCSW, a licensed clinical social worker. You already waved to everybody. Wave again to everybody. They live in all these cameras. Life story time.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
How you feel about talking about your life story?
I find that to be more easily approachable.
You do?
Yeah.
I want to share a disclaimer first. I was going to share this later, but what I've noticed is with folks that talk about their life story,
Mm-hmm.
afterwards they'll have a bit of a hangover, like an authenticity or vulnerability hangover. They'll say, well, I shared something that I'm now ruminating about, thinking I shared too much, or someone might see this and it might impact my relationship somewhere else. So I want to let you know that first, because I want you to leave here happy or at least comfortable with what you shared.
Mm-hmm.
Folks have shared all kind of different stuff about because we start at childhood, and I like to understand
Oh, really? You go
people's
way back?
yeah.
Oh.
Well, I think primary conditioning occurs in the home. Most of the people I talk
Yeah.
to are seekers, and normally that comes from some original trauma or original kind of rupture between their caregiver, and I'm interested in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that can be a sensitive subject.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you don't have to talk about anything. You can talk about whatever you're comfortable talking about.
Okay.
But I'll ask you those questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where were you born?
Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
Is that like coal mine country? I don't know
I
anything about
don't
Kentucky. I don't know
know.
about Kentucky.
Yeah. Well, we moved when I was 4.
Okay. So
Yeah.
where would you spend most of your life?
We moved around. So my mom was a single mom for a large portion, and then she was married 4 times. And so with being a single mom, we would move to wherever she could get a better paying job. Or if she was getting married, then we might move with her spouse, right? So we moved around a lot. So until I arrived in Austin, I would say I don't really know where I would name my home. Um so yeah. We moved from Bowling Green to Reno, Nevada, and then we just kind of bounced around. We spent a lot of time in North Carolina and South Carolina for a portion. My mom now lives in Nashville and my dad lives still in Bowling Green. So yeah.
What was that like?
Moving around.
Did you have siblings or was it you?
I had a younger brother. He's 4 years younger.
And y'all moved around together?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was that like? I imagine that'd be stressful.
When you're young, that's all you know,
Yeah.
right? So you don't think oh, this is stressful. This is just life, right? So, I think at certain points I liked it because I was exposed to different cultures, different places. Um, And it kind of instilled in me a desire to travel, to be in challenging situations where you kind of have to figure it out with a new culture or a new town or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then other parts it was really hard. I remember when we moved to was it Franklin, Tennessee. Well, yeah, okay. I'm not gonna get lost in the details. But we moved to Franklin, and Franklin is kind of a richer town.
More affluent.
And yeah, I think because maybe there's a lot of country music art. I actually have no idea why it is the way that it is.
There's more money there.
But there's more money there. And we were poor, and I was the new kid on top of being noticeably poor, in what I wore, my hair, all of it, right? And so that was hard because I got picked on. So sometimes being the new kid was challenging, but yeah, I never really thought about it being stressful. It's just what we did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So poor. What was that like?
That was hard. I remember we lived in a trailer in North Carolina, um and I remember my mom really struggling, and we sometimes wouldn't have food, and there may be things like in the cupboard, like an old box of macaroni and cheese and like a can of tuna or something, right? And so my mom, her name is Mary Ann Conyers. Now she's Richardson, but she would go by Mac. And she would make what was called Mac Surprise. And my brother and I knew, we're like, oh no.
Whatever was in the pantry.
It's like whatever was in the pantry. And sometimes it was good and sometimes it was
Oh
disgusting.
my goodness.
Yeah, and so I was aware. I knew. It was like we're, that we didn't have money and that it was a struggle for my mom. Um and sometimes I didn't feel safe, and so that was challenging too. Um
You
so
didn't feel safe.
yeah, like, I remember one time being like, we were in the trailer and maybe we had a babysitter, but I don't remember there being an adult there, and, somebody came to the trailer, and I think he was obviously intoxicated, and he was demanding that we let him in, and so maybe he didn't realize that it wasn't his trailer, but I remember feeling really scared, and there were lots of moments like that, just not feeling safe.
Because you're in environments that are probably depressed. Well, but financial, I don't know if this is true, but places that have less money or wealth tend to have probably more crime and addiction, or at
Mhm.
least that crime and addiction is more outside of the home. It's like more, I
Mhm.
think rich people have just as much addiction and crime. It's just different crime. It's like a
Right,
white
right.
collar crime, and the addiction is in their, I don't know, their theater room or something.
Mhm.
But in like
Mm.
more economically depressed areas, it's like on the street in the
Mhm.
corner. And is that true?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, yes. Yes. But, it's not that I was aware of a lot of crime, but yes, I think what you're saying is
Yeah.
valid.
And that,
But I think there was also people that came into our lives that weren't safe as well, so
like your mom's boyfriends or
yeah, 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 and I think probably just kinda I mean, like, that man is a perfect example, just having
strangers.
right, more interactions with people where it just doesn't feel safe, but then, of course, what you just said is true too, so, like, my mom's what her 2nd husband yeah, I think her 2nd husband was physically abusive, and that was before my brother came around, and, so we ended up living in a women's shelter. She tried to escape him, and so some of these things I have, very, like, vivid memories,
Because you witnessed some of the
and
abuse?
so I don't have a memory of witnessing, but I have a feeling. Like for instance, I remember being in a room, like in the apartment, and staring at these curtains and having the feeling like I know what's happening and being very scared, right? But I didn't witness it.
Yeah.
Um, well, I think that could be.
You could have dissociated.
Yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, I think there was for the early part of my childhood, there wasn't a lot of stability and there was, a lack of safety.
Safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, what kind
Yeah.
of work did your mom do?
At that time, she was managing restaurants, and so she would, um I don't know what the title would be, but, like, she'd be in charge of a district, like a lot of the
Regional manager?
yeah oh, hey, look at you, regional manager, yeah.
I just whipped
Yeah,
that out.
yeah. So, yeah. For, like, the big corporations where it's
Like she
like
would have like Applebee's in all of the South
right,
or
right, right,
something.
right, right, yeah,
Like four or
yeah.
five of them,
And so
6 of
that's why we would move during that point of time because she would maybe move to a different district, right?
them.
And
Okay.
and be in charge of, like, kind of getting them up and running, performing better, right?
And it sounds like her barometer for picking a mate was
Yeah,
skewed. She attracted,
yeah.
you know, what are they? People that were works in progress,
Yes,
or folks
very
that were
much
bringing
so.
within the cycle of violence. Did
Yeah.
she have that? The cycle of violence? My mom did. It was part of her history. So she would invite
Mhm.
those dynamics, I think, as much as the other would.
It's interesting because not that I know of. I mean, alcoholism is, like, rampant in our family.
Uh-huh.
But her father, my granddad, I never knew him to be violent in any way. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there was like a history of not talking about things in my family. So, and even if you did, it was sometimes kind of like pushed under the rug or like, that didn't happen. You're like, no, it really did.
Mm.
So I actually don't know
Yeah.
the answer to that. Hmm.
How do you how did you it was just you and your brother and your mom then a lot of times. That was the
Hmm.
core.
Until I was 8, and then my mom married my current stepdad. Hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so you had that stepdad
Hmm.
for a long, long time.
Hmm.
I had an evil stepdad. Was yours evil?
He wasn't, I wouldn't say he's evil, but he did a lot of harm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think mine was really evil, but I think
Yeah.
he definitely did a lot of harm.
Yes.
The way I think about it now from like an empowered place is he was he was dealing with his own trauma
Right.
and kind of his own
Mhm.
cycle of violence that he was unable to free himself from,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I was a part of that.
Right. Same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
What was your relationship with your mom like?
So, it's an interesting relationship, has been, still is. I love my mom's, like, so much. I think that she is I can't even imagine being a single mom and doing all that she did,
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that just seems nearly impossible. But at the same time, you know, I think that she has not, like, processed some things that kind of hinder her ability to connect and see reality. So to give you an example, like my current stepfather was abusive, and I told her when I was 10. And, her response was that she went and talked to him, and then she came back and they decided that I was having, like, prepubescent dreams, related to hormones, and so what happened were dreams, right? And so going back to, like, there's this history of not wanting to talk about things or kind of putting things under the rug, right? And I think her religion is part of that. She's Catholic and she could not get divorced again because getting divorced in the Catholic Church is just, it's a sin. And so because of that, I can imagine as a single mother how hard that was being married and thinking like I can't if I accept this, then I would have to divorce this
Yeah. You'd
person,
have to go
right?
down a path that you don't want to go down or you
Right.
feel like you can't go down.
Right. And so because you know, well that truth and just like historically, not looking at things and processing things, like that was her response, right? And so of course that's going to impact our relationship. And so for a long time I was like, well, I can't talk to my mom about things,
Yeah, it
right?
sounds like gaslighting.
Well, it is. It totally is.
You're
Yeah.
saying this is my experience. They're going, oh no, that's this dream
Right.
you're having.
Right. And so then that creates a sense of like not feeling safe, right?
Yeah,
This is your mother who's supposed to protect you,
right.
right? And then also, I was young, I was 10 years old. And so for a little while, I thought, oh my gosh, like I'm having these dreams. How can my mind be this? How can my mind fail me in this way?
Yeah,
And then once I hit my like teenage years, it's like, I don't know if I'm allowed to cuss.
you can cuss.
That's what immediately came up for me was a cuss word. Because in my teenage years, yeah, I was like, this is bullshit. Like, this is, what they told me was uh, yeah, I don't know if I have the words for it in this moment, but yeah, I realized quickly like that what was kind of fed to me wasn't true. And so then our relationship was strained during that period of time. So we've had a lot of,
Ups and
bumps
downs.
and yeah. But we're still, I don't know, we're still close with boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of coping strategies did you learn through that childhood? Like, how did you, some folks fight, flight, freeze, fawn.
Yeah. For me, so in the beginning, it was I'd say like freeze, and then fawn. Then when I hit my teenage years and I was like This
Oh, no, you didn't. It
right.
was fight.
It was fight, and it was fight for a long time.
You were
Yeah.
angry.
So angry. And that's why going back to, what we were talking about earlier, that can be a default for me,
Yeah, I
right?
hear that.
Is when there is a like very strong emotion like sadness, which that's what it was then,
Absolutely.
total sadness. It wasn't, yeah. Anyways, yeah, then my default is anger.
Did the freeze incorporate a dissociation? Did you feel like you came
Yeah.
outside of your body?
Yes. Yeah.
What was
Mhm.
that like?
Not fun.
Did you, like, see yourself?
Um,
Were you like
no, not I mean, I don't really have a memory of that. It's more like I don't there's whole periods of time that I don't remember. And I only have like 2-second
snippets?
visualizations or memories. So like for instance the curtain thing that I just described, like being in a room, seeing the curtain and then knowing like there's,
Something's going on that's not
yeah, it's
cool.
violent.
That's
Yeah.
violent.
Yeah. And that's like 2 seconds, right? And I didn't even know that was a real thing until later on in life in my 20s. I'm going through my mom's closet to look for something and I pull out the curtain. Right? I was like, "Wow, this curtain was real. That moment was real." So it's stuff like that where
You
I have
shut down, you stopped taking in information because it was too much.
right.
Kinda like a possum plays dead
Mhm.
to survive.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's that sounds really hard,
Mhm.
to be a small child navigating a world that's scary.
Mhm. Yeah.
And the coping strategies that how did you cope? You disassociated or you freeze or fun or, like, people
Mhm.
pleased
Mhm.
when
Yep.
you were 10.
Yep.
What did that mature into when you're in college? Like,
In college, so in my early 20s, well, I didn't go to college. So in my early 20s, then that anger kind of turned into like self-medicating, so lots of
yeah.
drugs. But that didn't last too long. It was only a few years. Last too long, you know. That's a long time, but
Yeah.
given the circumstances,
Yeah.
going back to what I said earlier, I'm surprised that it didn't last longer and that I actually survived it all.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then when I was 20, I was in a relationship, like my first love, and he recognized that he needed to be sober and then that made me think, well, maybe I should also be sober because this has gotten out of hand, right? And then he was a musician. He's like, I think I'm going to travel a little bit solo to try and practice like celibacy, sobriety, and to do some heavy work, right?
Huh.
Yeah.
A 20-year-old?
Yep.
That's
Mhm.
a that's a pretty insightful thing for a 20-year-old to wanna do.
He's a phenomenal person.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
It's like, "I'm gonna practice celibacy,
Mhm.
sobriety, and go on a a
Like Jack
walkabout." Yeah.
Kerouac
Yeah.
situation where he drives around and plays
And
and
Jack
yeah.
Kerouac would have probably done drugs,
Well,
though.
right, the sober Jack Kerouac.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know if I had good intentions with this or not. I don't know if I was trying to one up him, but I was like, well, I'm gonna go to India and I'm gonna be celibate, celibate and sober and practice yoga and study with a teacher, right?
You
And
one-upped
so
him.
yeah, yeah.
You one-upped your way into enlightenment. Like,
And so I did. So at 20, I went to
"I'll show
India for the
you,
first time.
dude. I'll
Yeah.
go get enlightened." Okay.
Uh,
So you
That's
went to
funny.
India for the first time when you
Yeah.
were 20
20. Yeah.
20,
And that was, of course, life-changing, right? And then that kind of set me on a different path.
studying yoga in India when you were 20 something.
Mhm. Yeah.
How long were you there?
So I had saved up to be there for a year, 2 years, and was ready, right? And then 3 months in, I did not make very good decisions back then, like from the beginning, like I'm just single female, 20 years old, gonna go to India by myself and not plan anything and just arrive in the city. Probably not the wisest thing to do. I'm also going to take out all of my money out of the bank account and carry it in cash. Why? I don't
Oh my
know.
goodness. So
And
I kind of see the foreshadowing there.
right. And then on a bus that was packed, like those buses that you're just like shoulder to shoulder and there's chickens and all the things.
Yes.
And I'm trying to get off the bus and someone very easily just probably pulled out my like one of those like it was the thing that you normally wear under your shirt, like a little like for your passport, right?
Yes.
And I had all my money in it, so thousands of dollars of cash and
Oh my God.
gone.
You
Yep.
were robbed. How long were you there when that happened?
That was 3 months in.
Oh my God.
And then I ended up staying a little bit longer because I didn't have a passport and I had no money. I was like, how am I going to do this? I have to travel to the embassy, which is completely across India on the other side. And I need money to do that. And then I have to get a new passport. And that's a whole nother story. So I ended up staying a little over. I don't know how much over, but three
You were
months.
stranded in India
Yeah.
with no money and no passport.
Yeah. And see, that there's where my mom came in, right? So this interesting relationship where sometimes when I needed her the most, like she shows up, and so she did everything she could to get me into the embassy because it was hard to, well, I'm not going to get into that. It's a long story.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she helped. She helped me get an appointment at the embassy. She was able to wire me a little bit of money so that I could get there and then yeah. Mhm.
What was the yoga aspect of that trip like? Did you,
So, yeah, I was practicing Ashtanga yoga at the time. And so Ashtanga yoga, um, well, back then there was one teacher that you would go to. He
uh-huh.
was famous for teaching Ashtanga yoga.
Who's that?
His name was Patabi Joyce. He has since passed away. But so I went there to study with him. And then when I got there, I realized it's like this isn't my scene. Um
Was it Indians there or was it a bunch of like Westerners?
Westerners,
It was
yeah.
all Westerners there?
Yeah, and at that point, I think he was famous, like Madonna and, what's his
Paul
name?
McCartney or something?
No. Oh my gosh, I actually used to really love his music, and I'm drawing a blank. Anyways, like famous people would study with him, and so
Yeah.
it was one of those things where, there'd be a line, and you'd wait to get in, and, it's a certain type of practice where it's not led. You have memorized the postures. They're in the same sequence. So you'd wait in line. Typically, they'd give you a general time slot,
Yeah.
and then you'd go, as people leave, you would come in and you'd start your practice. And so everybody's at different points in their practice, and he would walk around and adjust. And yeah,
Do you leave with some certifications? I'm like,
I think you could, but I wasn't there for that.
yeah.
So I don't know what that would have looked like back then, like how many months or it was also very expensive. So yeah, and then it was very I don't want to traditional is not the word, but for instance, like women were not allowed to practice when they were menstruating. There's holidays that you would have to take off and so there was some kind of like strict parameters around practicing that didn't resonate with me.
Right.
And then there was also at that time, India and Pakistan were in, I think they
Fighting
were threatening a nuclear war at one point.
Kashmir.
Right. And he would hold these, oh my gosh, I hope there's no like Ashtanga lovers.
Look, if there's any Ashtanga lovers in the audience right now, I need you to earmuffs, okay?
The
Earmuffs real quick.
practice is great. Hey. But so Patabi Joyce would offer these like community Q&A sessions, right? Because you wouldn't talk. You'd go in, you do your practice, you leave. I think it was once a week. And so I had not gone yet. I had not gone to practice with him. I had not gone to one of these Q&As. I had just arrived, but I happened to be staying in one of these places where a lot of the Ashtangis would stay.
Uh-huh.
And so as I was like trying to get over jet lag, I would go to lunch and I would hear them talk and whatever. And so I heard about how they had one of their Q&As and someone asked a question about Muslims in Pakistan and his response was not great. Like I don't remember the exact words, but basically saying they're all liars, so I don't listen and to what they say and blah 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 blah, right? And so at that point I thought, this just doesn't.
This dude's not enlightened.
Yeah, and it's not like I was expecting to be in the presence of an enlightened being. I fully understood that the practice that I was doing was quite physical, right?
Okay. Were
But
you seeking enlightenment?
no,
No.
no.
You were seeking a skill set.
No, I mean, I was seeking spirituality, right? But I didn't have this belief that all yoga teachers from India are enlightened. I see them as humans, but I did expect him or whatever teacher that I practice with to be more aware, more on the path and evolved in some way spiritually.
Compassionate and empathy. That
Yes.
that loving kindness meditation, metta meditation.
Right.
More, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
with that response about these others.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So you got a
Yeah.
couple glimpses,
Yeah.
then you got robbed. The universe took you away from India.
Well, so I ended up finding another teacher and I did study for 3 months.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
But it
yeah.
wasn't Ashtanga
It
anymore.
was.
But it was a
So
different
here's-
teacher.
So here's the interesting thing. Like Batabi Joyce is famous, right,
Uh-huh.
for Ashtanga. But the thing is there were other teachers that were also taught Ashtanga, like
Uh-huh.
the postures, the sequence, and from the same teacher, right? And who knows why he became famous? I have my thoughts and opinions, but who knows?
Yeah.
The teacher that I studied with had the same teacher as Patabi Joyce,
Uh-huh.
was given kind of the same practice, but he focused on other aspects. Like he wanted you to do the breathing practices. He wanted you to do what's called the shakriyas, like these cleansing practices, like the one that's really well known is like the neti pot, right?
Yeah.
And so you had to do a wide variety of other practices under his tutelage or whatever, right? And so I studied with him and continued to practice Ashtanga. And so I did that for 3 months and then had the incident on a bus. And
Probably learned a lot in those 3 months. That's a long time. You were practicing yoga every day, like full time?
yes.
That was your life,
Yeah.
was yoga.
Mhm.
Ashtanga yoga.
Mhm. Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
What happened when you got back? You were, oh, wait. While you're there, you were sober?
Yes.
No drugs and alcohol.
Yes.
You were eating a vegetarian diet? Was it vegetarian?
Yes. Yes.
Was the food good over there?
Yes.
It's good food.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It was
Ish.
no, it's great, but you just had to know where to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You had to know where to go.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then, did you get into any of the religions that were over there? I've interviewed a couple people from India, and they had some, they sacred cows. The cows would run around, and they
Of
would
course, yeah.
they would just
Yeah.
they would basically like clean their. They were like serving the cows.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Well, yoga was a religion. Was it that type of thing for you? It was spiritual.
it was spiritual. Yeah.
Spiritual,
Mhm.
but not religion. Yeah.
Mhm.
What's the difference between spirituality and religious?
For me, I think religious it has some like rules and defines things in very specific ways, right? Like God is this,
Like
spirit is this. Yeah.
dogma. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I see.
Mhm.
I see.
Yeah.
What happened when you get back to America? You were in you're still 20 something,
20
early
Yeah, I
20s.
actually turned 21 over there, but yeah, so then I came back. I was back for 3 or 4 years and just practicing living life and then went back again for the second time, but this time I was doing like an around the world backpacking thing where I would spend like a month in each place.
Wow.
Or when I was in Europe, it might be like 3 days in Barcelona or one day in London. So I didn't spend as much time in Europe, but I would try it. Like I spent a month or close to in Nepal and in Thailand and India. I stayed for a couple months again, but this time I traveled all around India.
And you had a better strategy for finance management?
Yeah. I mean, there's a
You would
story.
just tape money to your shirt.
Yeah.
All these money.
My,
I want this
yeah.
money.
No, I mean, there's a reason why I took my money out. I wasn't just like, I'm gonna take thousands of dollars of cash. There's a reason.
There's a reason.
Yeah. But yeah, no, this time, yes, of course.
You did
I
better.
was more prepared.
Well, where'd you get all this money to go travel the world? Did you just
I mean, I'm
win the
20
lottery?
something.
You just saved up a bunch of
So I
cash?
worked as a restaurant manager and I got paid well.
You followed the family business.
I did. Yeah. In fact, my brother did too. My brother's a restaurant manager. My mom's a midwife now, though. Very different.
Very different.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So I worked as a restaurant manager well, I think at that time I was the kitchen manager. I got paid really well and I got paid under the table a lot of it. Yeah.
Nice.
And so I was able to
Save a bunch of money.
a lot of money.
When you got back, did that the guy crumble under the weight of your achievement in India?
What guy?
The guy that you did it for.
I didn't do it for him. No,
I know
no.
you didn't, but we both know.
No, we don't.
You know, a little bit.
No.
You told him and you were like, listen to this.
You're going to travel around the United States in your car.
I went
around the world.
I went down to India and learned Ashtanga yoga and,
No, we're still friends. And yeah, I haven't talked to him in a while, but we're still friends. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you have the same kind of dude picker as your mom? Did you invite in some bad dudes in your life?
They were not violent towards me.
No.
They were not, and they weren't violent. No.
To anybody?
No, to anybody. But they were, I mean.
Wounded birds?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're all wounded birds.
Yeah, some more well, I think we're all wounded birds. It's like, what are we doing with those wounds?
Yeah, how are you?
Right.
Are you healing yourself? Are you aware of your wounds? Are you?
Exactly.
Yeah. Are you keeping those, from Carl Jung's, are you keeping those shadows in front of you?
Right. Yeah.
Instead of hidden down there, wreaking havoc.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. So you did this world tour. Sounded like you went some awesome places.
Yes.
With this under the table cash from restaurant management.
Yep.
Were you practicing yoga and learning for people? You were.
Yeah.
With teachers, different teachers?
Yeah, and so I did go back to study with the same teacher.
You did?
I did.
Did he remember you? He was like, "Oh, Mary, you're back."
He did. Yeah.
I missed you.
Uh-huh. Yeah, he was very sweet, very kind, and I would spend time with him and his wife and his family.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. His name was Shashadri.
Shashadri.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still communicate with him?
I don't. No, I haven't since then.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so when so I went back, I studied with him, but then when I was traveling around, I would just go, like I would see flyers or hear from other people in cafes of different yoga teachers, and I would just try anything and all the things.
Whoever the most popular teacher was in the area?
No, not popular, because I didn't want that, but it might be just like I remember somebody told me about an experience they had. It ended up being Kundalini yoga, but they were talking about the experience, and I was like, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
They weren't popular, but they were, somehow I would hear about it, right? And it would be interesting to me, or it seemed authentic or steeped in the tradition. There was just something.
Some authenticity.
Yeah. And so that's what I would gravitate.
Would you stick with those teachers for a while?
No.
It would just be, you were just doing like a sample platter.
I might go for a couple classes. And,
okay.
Yeah.
But you're learning.
Right.
You're synthesizing all that stuff in some subconscious.
I stayed with Shashadri for, a few months.
Oh, you did?
Practice with him every day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it's so funny time. It's like, how long was I there total? And then I don't know how long I was with him versus like moving around, but it seems like it was a long time. But it probably wasn't.
You're a legit yogi. Legit yogi. Why are you shaking your head?
Back to the expert terms.
I said legit.
I know.
You're like, I'm sneaking another term in there. You're like, nah,
No.
I smell what you're cooking, Phil. You're just trying to say expert in a different way. But that's a unique experience.
Sure.
To travel the world, to study with someone from the region or the areas where yoga originated, and to bring that back to America, you would be skilled.
I feel like a lot of people were doing it at that time. Like if you were studying yoga, that's what at some point you would do.
You would do that.
No, that doesn't happen anymore, but back then that was just,
A lot of people are doing it.
I feel like, I don't know.
Did you go native when you were there, or did you hang out with
Wait,
other?
what does that mean?
When you go native, that's when you hang out with locals and you kind of
Oh,
immerse yourself in the culture. You don't
yes.
hang out with other kind of foreigners.
Yeah.
You eat the food, you dress the clothes, you probably find you an Indian boyfriend. You
No.
learn how to talk the
Yeah.
language.
I think I was probably somewhere in the middle, right?
Okay.
Um, yeah, because for instance, like I wanted to learn sitar, and so
Ooh,
I
you learned
would,
sitar?
I tried. That is a hard instrument, at least for me it was. But I had no like previous exposure to guitar or anything, so it was really challenging. But anyways, so for that, like I would try to ask around, like, if I went to a cafe, I'd ask the person there, "Hey, do you know any sitar teachers?" And so because of that, then yes, I would end up being with a sitar teacher, like where I was the only Westerner,
You
right?
were traveling alone?
Yeah.
And then again, what was that like being a woman
Hard.
traveling the world alone?
Sometimes, and that's why I say it was in the middle, because sometimes I would meet somebody, like if I went to a yoga class and I met somebody and they're going to Mumbai, which I think is called something different now. But, if they were going somewhere, it's like, I want to go there, let's go together, because it was safer to be with another person, right?
Travelers.
Yeah. But then there were lots of times where I traveled on my own, right? And as a white Westerner, it's probably not like this at all anymore, but there was kind of this maybe perception among some people that I was a very sexual human being, right? And so they would assume that. And so I would I was exposed to things, that like, why is this person showing me his, or whatever it may be. And so it was much safer to be with someone to, not have to deal with situations
You
like
got the
that.
old school, nowadays you'd call it a dick pic. You got the old school one where it was the real, just there's my.
Or like, I don't know if you need to go into this or not, but there's a lot of examples of
Just
stuff like that.
you can give us one, and if we need to, we'll
You
just
can edit it out.
edit it out.
Okay, yeah. So for instance, I remember I was traveling on a train and I was on the top bunk. They would have these bunks that fold down so you could sit during the day and lift
Okay.
up. I'm on the top bunk, and between me and the next bunk on the other side is like this metal. It's not a wall because it has like
Like a void, yeah,
holes. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
like railings, maybe
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
chains.
And I woke up and there was a guy in the bunk next to me looking at me, and he
It's
was
doing. He
his
was self-pleasuring him,
right.
pleasuring
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah. And so that's an example, right? And I would talk to other women who they'd be on the beach, and then all of a sudden this guy next
You
to
know
me.
how I know I've got work to do? When you shared that story, the first thing I thought was, well, what were you wearing up there? I know that's wrong.
Whoa.
Hey, I'm
Yeah.
sharing that. I'm
Yeah, yeah,
sharing
yeah.
that. That's my
Yeah.
work to
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter what you were wearing.
Right.
But I think some things could be more stimulating than others.
Right. But to answer your question, like fully clothed
Fully clothed.
and probably a blanket on
A
top.
blanket on top.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm going with that guy's, that's an inappropriate response to a sleeping lady. But I think there's no way a lady could sleep
Okay.
that would make that appropriate.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
Right. I just
Good
want
job,
to
good
preface
job.
it
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But I would say some levels of, I'm walking a tightrope here.
I
Can
know
I just
you are.
backpedal myself
No,
right out of this
you're
one?
good. You're good. You're good.
Get right out of
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
There's some levels of dress and thing that would make it more challenging
Not
to
to.
stay in
Okay.
your pure, if you looked over and lady had like a, let's talk about something else.
Yeah, I know. I gave you an out and you just kept going.
I'm sorry.
I was like, okay.
Sometimes I need like a real billboard. Exit here. Exit here. Yeah, give me that. Anyway, so yeah, you had some weird experiences.
Yeah, and so
Did you just go back to sleep? You're like, I'm just gonna go back.
No,
to
I
sleep.
yelled at him.
Oh, you yelled at him.
Yeah.
Was he?
Not appropriate. Stop. Something
Yeah.
like that. I don't know.
Ugh.
I would get grabbed, like, and the thing was, is like sometimes It was so ridiculous sometimes. Like, I remember I was walking one time and a guy came by, like scooters or mopeds or whatever they're called, common vehicle,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so they go by constantly nonstop as you're walking, and someone came by and went to grab my chest, but they're on a vehicle going like 20 something miles. So it's like
That's gonna hurt.
knocked me back, right? Or they come up behind and grab my butt. Like it was, it was I wouldn't say it was an everyday thing, but it happened a lot. A
Enough.
lot.
I
Yeah.
mean, one time would be enough, but you're saying a lot with the head nod,
Yeah.
which meant it was like
A lot.
a
Yeah.
lot.
And
Goodness.
so
How did that impact your view of the world and of mankind?
I don't know. I saw it through a lens of I mean, in some ways like sex is different, culture from culture to culture,
Yep.
right? And then when you see, like, I remember going to this like this Buddhist monastery, and I went into one of the restaurants and the monks were back making the food, and I look up and there was a poster of Britney Spears. I was like, "Well, this is weird,"
That's kind of weird. Yeah, yeah.
Um and I realized like there were other people, not just monks, like living in this community, right? And so maybe the owner, I don't know, really loves Britney Spears. I have no idea. But the way that she was dressed, like you would not dress like that,
Right.
right? And so she was very sexualized.
Mhm.
And so if that's what you see of Western white women,
Ah,
then you
they had
may,
been primed, like you said, whenever you get something in your idea, then you see it and that's all you think about is that
right.
thing.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I think it's complicated, and that's how I viewed it. I was like, this is
Were you
complicated. And
practicing celibacy?
at one point I was. I don't remember if it was the whole time. The first time I was there, yes. The second time,
Maybe you had some travel romance.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
But you
So
definitely weren't wanting those type of courting scenarios.
no.
The
Cuz
drive-by scooter
no,
situation.
none of it. I didn't want any of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want
Yeah.
any of it either
Yeah.
for you or anybody.
Mhm. Yeah.
Ugh.
So that's why sometimes I would gravitate towards like, okay, I'm gonna travel to North India. Let's make some friends and go together, And then other times
What's in North India? Why is North India important?
I wanted to get to the Himalayas, and so I wanted to get to a place. I don't know how you pronounce it correctly, but is it Dharmasala? Dharmasala, yeah. So the tiny little town where the Dalai Lama will often go to, like that's where he lives in exile, right? And it's
Okay.
itty bitty.
Where
Well,
he
maybe not
fled from
anymore, but
Tibet.
yes. So it's just on the other side of the mountain range,
So you wanted to be near the Dalai Lama.
right? And so at some point, I was trying to make my way up, and I would stop along the way. And if I, you know, met somebody who was also going there, then we'd become friends.
This is a spiritual journey,
Yeah, which is another reason why I wasn't. I mean, I would have never been interested in getting grabbed while walking down the street, right?
obviously.
But that's another reason why I wasn't, even if I wasn't outrightly practicing celibacy, I was still, because I was there like on this spiritual journey,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah,
that was my focus.
makes sense.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
beautiful.
Mhm.
Did you make your way to that town?
I did.
Did you see the Dalai
I
Lama?
did.
What was that like?
So I don't know if I realized at the time, but he will have this, or maybe it happens multiple times a year, but from what I understood, it's like this annual thing where people come from all over the world and they sit, and he talks about various things, right? So it's like a teaching.
Dharma talk?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that was happening. And I don't know that I was aware, or maybe I just didn't understand what it meant to have like hundreds, maybe even, I don't know, thousands. I don't know how many people were there, but
Uh-huh.
but it was crazy. It was, yeah. And so then we would sit and he would be on the stage and he would talk about various things, Dharma talk. And we would have earphones and you could tune in to the correct translation, right? So somebody was translating it in French and English and whatever it may be,
Yeah.
right? But luckily I got there early, like way before this was happening. So I got to be in the town when it was a lot quieter, and yeah. And then he arrived and everybody arrived and yeah, it was amazing.
Wow.
Mhm.
That is an amazing. That's got to be a unique experience that
Mhm.
you have that a lot of the folks don't have.
Mhm.
To be able to sit with the Dalai Lama, hear him provide a Dharma discussion.
Mhm. Yeah, that's so funny. I totally forgotten about it. I haven't probably thought about that in a couple years. Uh-huh.
Really?
Uh-huh. Yeah. That goes back to what I said earlier, like, that seems like a different lifetime,
Yeah,
you
because
know?
you've had kids and you're
Yeah.
now doing this other thing.
Right. Mhm.
What happened come forward in time a little bit? What happened
Yeah.
after this journey?
So, I think a big thing that happened that kind of changed my life's path again is when I got back, um I have this soul sister, best friend of mine, who actually came to India the second time when I
Huh?
was there. And when I got back, I was with her and I hadn't like established roots. I think I was staying at her place or I don't remember. But we were just kind of out and about having fun, decided to go skateboarding. And I back then I thought I was just like what's the word I'm looking for? Like immortal. And I had no business being on a skateboard on this high. I don't even know what it's called, where you drop in.
Yeah,
And I
ramp.
ramp, yeah. And I dropped in, and I won't go through the details, but I broke my leg in a really, really bad way where I had to have surgery and screws and a plate.
Yeah, yeah.
Had to learn like, how
Walk
to
again.
walk again when because that leg was just like, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was life changing because I was a strong yogi who traveled the world, and all of a sudden I'm in a wheelchair and can't walk for a long period of time. Then I graduated to like a boot, and so that was a big learning process, and then I they moved. This is. So then while I was in surgery, my friends, her and another friend, moved me into, remember the boyfriend,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Into his mother's house because
Huh.
she and I had gotten really close.
Yeah.
Right. This woman she's amazing. I wish you could sit and talk to her. Like she's just an amazing person. And so I was moved into her house. And then I lived there for a few months, maybe like 6 months or something. And then during that time, like I remember I would like get out of the wheelchair, get on the
You
floor.
had to rely on the kindness of others at
Yeah.
this time.
Yeah.
Because you probably
And
spent all your money on your travels. You
right.
come back, break your leg, and
Yeah.
now, like, how do you make money? How do
Right.
you? And
And I
so,
couldn't make money. I couldn't walk.
no,
I
you
couldn't
couldn't
get
make
around
money.
for a
Goodness,
while,
yeah, the
Yeah.
wheelchair jobs.
What?
There's no wheelchair jobs.
Right.
I mean, back
Right.
then,
Which gave me an eye, like it opened up my world.
because you had to slow down.
Because I had to slow down. I also started to see like the world through somebody's eyes that has what may be referred to as a disability.
Yeah,
It's like, wow,
absolutely.
nothing is accessible to
You're
me
relying on
at
the
all.
kindness of
Yeah.
others,
Yeah.
of community.
Right. And then I couldn't do this practice that was like really what kind of healed me
You
in
couldn't
so
do
many
yoga.
ways. Yeah. So then I started reading like this book, One Year to Live, which is all about, what if you were dying in a year, right?
Uh-huh.
And then I got into the philosophy of yoga and started reading all, because before that, yoga was more of a physical practice that helped me feel more spiritually connected. But there wasn't really a spiritual practice, if you will, like
Okay.
meditation or chanting or so that's when I started getting into all that. Like, how can yoga be more accessible? Is yoga sitting on the floor and doing a couple stretches, which it was for me at that time, right? And then getting into the philosophy as I started to read all these books and then meditation and yeah, and so that I think is honestly what really shifted things for me and led me to kind of like where I am today, right?
Was the wheelchair experience.
Yeah, the breaking the leg.
Because you couldn't practice yoga in the way you'd known it, it gives you that time and space to invite in yoga in different ways.
Yeah.
The meditation, the
Right.
breathing,
And I was privileged. I had support, right?
Yeah.
And so I didn't have to work.
Yeah.
And so that meant I had time to study and to read and to contemplate and all the things.
contemplative practice. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mary, you are a badass.
Aw.
You're a legit badass.
Thanks.
I have 2 daughters, and I think they should spend time with someone like you, a woman that's a badass,
That's
someone that
kind.
To travel the world alone, to seek, you know, to be a seeker in that way. What is this all about? To go through what you went through as a small child and that be the fruit of that very disorganized tree is a
Mhm.
beautiful thing.
Mhm.
And I imagine it took a lot of strength and courage and bravery to do those things, to return there, and probably a healthy, desire for adventure
Mhm.
and novelty, learning and growing through experience. It's admirable in so many ways.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mm.
Goodness. And hearing that, it adds so much depth to who you are in my eyes. Wow. How old are you? Why is that funny?
I don't know.
You're like, I'm 33.
Yeah.
Like,
No, my birthday is March 8th, so I'm gonna be 44.
okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's like a life, so many lives.
Yeah. Mhm.
And when did you start supporting other people's yoga practice and other people's yoga journey?
Not until I moved to Austin. So I moved to Austin in 2005. Um, and then I got a job like working as a server in a restaurant.
Stayed in that restaurant
I
business.
know, right?
Yeah.
While I was living with my her name is Donna. Well, yeah,
Donna
Donna. Yep.
is the partner's mom.
Right. Uh-huh. So we moved here together. I don't think she was born here, but she spent a lot of time
This
here.
dude's mom turned out to be one of your like
She still is. Like she
besties.
is I love her to
Donna?
death. Yeah. Yeah, so she wrote songs for Willie Nelson and all these other artists, and she's an artist herself, and she's an amazing woman. And I think she kind of opened up yoga as like this really meaningful spiritual practice for me, and I hadn't kind of seen it in that light because she would meditate and just talk about spirituality. But anyways, so I moved here with her because she was going through a divorce. And I actually was living with them as they were kind of,
Oh,
I know,
that had
figuring
been a
this
hard
out.
hard time for them.
Yeah, I think it was very hard. And then once they got divorced, she's like, there's nothing keeping me here. I want to move. And I was like, I've been wanting to move,
What town was that in?
That was outside of Nashville.
Okay.
Yeah. And so then she's like, well, I've lived in Austin before. I love Austin. And I was like, I'll give it a try. And so I came down here to visit one guy or maybe we traveled to Austin together. I don't remember. And I was like, okay, this is an interesting place. I don't mind living here for a little while. And it was meant to be a pit stop. I was going to go either to like California or Colorado. I don't remember because I do not like the heat. And so we came, that was 2005, and I've been here
Never
ever
left.
since, right? Yeah. And then at some point, yeah, so I was working a restaurant job. I was teaching yoga like in my house. And then, yeah, I got a class at a studio. And then just from there, soon after, I was like, I can't really um, work at a restaurant and teach because at the restaurant business, it's challenging. There's sometimes, I don't know about every restaurant, but where I was, there was like a lot of heavy drinking and partying.
Yeah, the restaurant culture tends to be
Yeah.
full of distraction.
And so I ended up giving that up and teaching full time. And then I've been doing that ever since.
And did you find a partner and get married?
I did, yeah. So we got married about 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
Had some kiddos.
Yeah, his name is Rigoberto. And
Rigoberto Perez.
Yep.
Perez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so we have two boys,
Oh.
Micah and Elijah.
Is he into yoga?
Funny enough, like that's how we met. He, let's see. Well, technically we met because he was my neighbor and he was interested in my roommate. She was a massage therapist and he was talking about yoga and she's like, my roommate's a yoga teacher. And so we started talking.
Uh-huh.
And it was just friendly, right?
Right, because he was trying to get in good
Right.
with your
And he's a really nice guy. And
Yeah.
remember, like, that's not my,
What?
that
That's
was
not
not
your.
my,
You don't go for guys like that.
right.
You.
I want like no, not
You wanted a bad boy. He wasn't
right,
wounded
right,
enough for
right. He
you.
wasn't wounded
Yeah.
enough. Well, it turns out he was, but
Yeah.
but he's willing to work on it just like me.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, so I wasn't really interested at first. And we were friendly, but yeah. Then he did end up coming to my yoga class, right? And we weren't dating at that time. And so I was fine with that because I have I don't know, I have like boundaries around you don't date yoga students.
You don't.
No, I mean, at a certain there have to be some like I don't know. It's situational. I'll put it that
Because
way.
of the power dynamic?
Well, I don't, honestly, I think like the way that I teach, there shouldn't be a power
I
dynamic.
don't, yeah, you have a very like flat hierarchy vibe.
Right. So the way
Right.
that I teach, I don't think there should be a power dynamic, but I
But there
think
always will be if you're at the front of the class and you're kind of holding the wisdom, even
well,
if you try to flatten it.
I just think that because that has been an area where people have gotten hurt many times historically.
Yeah.
Like that's something that yoga teachers need to be aware of. And if you have that general rule in place, like I'm not going to date yoga students, right?
Yeah.
But then again, it's situational because I don't know, maybe someone comes along and like, you end up being more friends than you are like yoga teacher, yoga student. I
Right.
don't know. But for me, it was important to kind of have that rule in place, right?
Right.
Because then it also just made room for like clear communication among students,
Right.
who might approach me.
But you knew him before he came to your class.
I knew him before, yeah, and I knew he was interested in yoga, and then I got the hint that he was interested in me, and I don't know if it was that, but also he was coming to a class that was physically demanding and required some like prior knowledge, And I
Uh-huh.
was like, you need to go to a beginner series and have that
Yeah,
foundation.
you really need to get out of my class.
Right. And so I basically told him like, you can't come to my class anymore.
Yeah, my class is too hardcore for you. Okay.
For multiple reasons, it's like if you're interested in me, that makes it kind of,
Okay. You were interested too.
not in the beginning, but yes, eventually.
Old
yeah.
school persistence carried the day.
Right.
Old
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he started taking, Steven was the owner of that studio. It was called Eastside Yoga. And he started taking Steven's beginner series. And then since then, he hasn't really come back to my class. No, I mean.
Well, he gets privates now, right? Or he doesn't do yoga anymore. He's out of yoga. But
Okay.
He was in yoga for the chicks, man.
Yeah. Now I see. Now I see what your intention was. Uh-huh. Which I think I probably knew back then too.
Yoga for the chicks.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
yoga chicks are cool. Yoga chicks are cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Goodness. Anything you want to share about your life that we've missed or that we...
I don't know. Yeah, I don't
Any
know.
question you wish I would have asked about your life? What was your wound that you were seeking to heal from? Do you know?
I think there were a few, but I think one was being able to ask for what I need and being heard and and then back then that means if I was heard I would be protected.
Safety, being
Safety.
seen.
Yeah. And so I think it's still an ongoing thing for me to be able to like communicate what I need, right? And it's gone through different phases. It's like when I was a teenager, I was like, "You're gonna listen to me,"
Anger face.
anger, right?
Yeah.
And then being able, so now it's like I'm working, and then I was able to get through that and ask for what I need, but then I may be like really hurt if it wasn't validated or if it wasn't returned or whatever, maybe, right?
Yeah.
And so I think currently it's kind of the wound that I'm working on is like asking for what I need. And if it's not given, then being able to use my own tools to kind of, feel sourced or whatever it is. And
Yeah,
yeah.
accept the no or accept.
Yeah. Well, I think I can accept the no, but then it's the
Give
thing that
yourself whatever
mhm.
you wanted that you're asking for.
Yeah, it's like accepting the no I can do,
Okay.
right? But then sometimes I may find that I'm like still over functioning or I feel depleted because the part that's missing is I still need to work on then giving myself the thing that is needed.
That you were asking for.
Right. In those situations where it's like they don't have the capacity to give it,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I like that. If you look around my house, you'll notice feelings and needs laminated
Uh-huh.
cards. They're like different places hidden around my house because, I've gone through that. How do I ask for what I need in a healthy way? How do I share emotions and stuff like that?
Mhm.
Mm. Man, thank you so much for sharing your journey. I didn't anticipate that. I don't
Right.
think you can anticipate that.
Mm.
Everybody has such a wonderful story, and you
Yeah,
do have a
everybody.
wonderful story
Mhm.
and filled with adventure
Mhm.
and kind of crime, some little seedy parts, some like chaos and trauma at the beginning,
Yeah, yeah.
and such a wonderful story now that you give back in these shelters where asylum seekers are seeking,
Mhm.
asylum from the places they come from, and also helping people like me develop a practice of yoga.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I feel real privileged.
thank you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm. What did I do?
Well,
I
I
guess
mean,
just got you in the seat. I got you in the seat. That's true.
well, that is true, but also I think that you naturally create a safe space. And so I think, you mentioned earlier that people have a little bit of a hangover after sharing. And I think that
Mm.
has something to do with your ability to create a space that feels safe and warm and welcome to where people do say things.
Yeah.
And you're very authentic and genuine and
Oh,
yeah. And
thank
that
you.
and it's hard to be those things in the world that we live in these days.
Yeah.
So thank you.
I appreciate that.
Mhm.
It's taken a lot of work.
I hear
I
ya.
was a wounded bird, very wounded.
Mhm.
So, oh man, how do you want to wrap up? Sometimes I pull tarot cards. Sometimes I end with a hug. Sometimes, well, however, how do you want
What
to end
does your
that?
intuition tell you?
Oh, my intuition? How does your intuition tell you?
You can't flip it. You can't
I can't flip it. I just did flip it.
No.
Well, I love doing tarot cards.
Okay, do it.
Do you want to do it?
Is this it right here?
That's one version.
Okay.
Do you like those?
Well, I've been looking at them. They're very
You've
interesting.
been looking at them?
Yeah,
Oh, well, then grab
the
them.
design.
Grab them. The Wild
Okay.
Unknown. Here's the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, but that's the Wild Unknown, which I think is a beautiful deck.
It is very.
I like that one. You could shuffle that one. I've been doing a three-card pull with people. But I wonder, and it's been it's been past, present, and future. But I want to do something different with you and do something in the spirit of my show, which Phil Phails focuses on mind, body, and spirit. And I
Mhm.
wonder if we'd do a mind, body, and spirit pull.
Okay.
Each card would be mapped to one of those.
Okay.
First, put those aside for a second and let's figure out through the archetype deck what lens we'll look at this pull through. This will be the lens, the archetype, your inner archetype that'll influence how we read this. All right, what'd you pick? It's your card.
Oh.
You hand me the rest of them.
Oh. The flame.
The flame.
Mhm.
That maps to your red hair.
Oh, yeah.
I don't
Do you
know.
want this
What
one
does it look
back?
like?
It's like a pyramid and a pyramid and a pyramid, and there's a flame in the center. I really like the colors here, like watercolor-esque,
It's
red,
beautiful.
yellow.
What does it say to you? The flame.
I don't know, because it's interesting that it's in this shape. It's like in a mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Oh my goodness.
what?
Nothing. It's a perfect card for you.
Okay, what is
Well,
it?
the first two words are in Sanskrit. I
Nuh-uh.
swear to God.
Wait, what is that book? What is
It's the Oh, you look at it with in disbelief. It's the guidebook for this
really?
archetype cards. Yeah, archetype guidebook.
Huh.
And the first two words for this particular card are in Sanskrit. The
Wow.
word for fire is
Agni.
goodness. This is your card.
Is that what it says? Really?
Absolutely, that's what
Oh,
it says.
wow.
You think I'm making it? How could I?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a wizard, but
Uh-huh.
you
Okay.
picked your card.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
The flame, the fire, the spark, the glimmer. In Sanskrit, the word for fire is
Agni.
Agni. The ancient yogis saw this flame at the center of the abdomen and believed it to be responsible for our vitality.
Mm.
Talking about yogis? You picked
Does
the perfect
that book
card.
not talk about these things?
I mean, every card is different, but that's the first one I've ever read that was about yogis in Sanskrit.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
When it is lit, we are connected to our purpose, which we talked about your purpose earlier, and sense that life is a sacred gift. It is said that those who cannot see the sacred around them have let their inner flame go out,
Mm.
which is the balance that we're talking about.
Mhm.
Wow. Think of this card as a card to reignite that fire, to cup your hands gently around those things you've forgotten and protect the flame, no matter how harshly the winds around you blow, like the negativity and the sadness and despair and trauma from your either childhood or from your present moment experience at the shelter.
Mhm.
It could be an inner archetype that begs you to light its wick. It is likely that the poet, the mystic, or the shaman would call to you with the language of the flame.
Very cool.
Really cool.
Mhm.
Let's see the other thing. Says that the archetypal fire is at the beginning of all transformation, purification, and manifestation. Nearly every spiritual lineage honors the flame. To enliven the connection with this archetypal energy, practice the candle gazing technique called Trataka.
Mhm.
You know that?
Yeah, but I can't remember how to pronounce that one.
Notice how lighting a single candle in any space brings magic to the room and creates a sense of reverence.
Mm.
When light, health, mental clarity, good digestion. When dark, excess heat and anger, complete darkness. The flame. That's the kind of archetype we'll use to look at the other cards that we pull or
Okay.
that you pull.
Mhm.
How does that land for you? It lands for me in a lot of powerful ways, but I wonder how it lands for you.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it lands in a lot of different ways. I think that it's interesting that the overlap and like all the things that we've been talking about. I mean, the things that you noted, like purpose and also that balance, like not letting the flame go out, you know? Yeah, very cool.
All right, pick up the other ones. Here, I'll hold that up. Let people. The flame.
Oh my goodness. So I picked 3.
You pick three. You can shuffle them up. You can pick them from wherever you want. These are your cards.
Okay.
Whichever ones you pull are the right ones. Kind of remember the order a little bit. You got
Okay.
all of them?
Yeah. It goes 1, 2, 3.
All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let this meditating cat hold the flame. You like the smell of Palo Santo?
Is that what was burning in here? Because it didn't smell like
It
that.
wasn't. It was incense. I think it probably been some straight up Nag Champa.
Mhm.
But this
I
is
like both.
I like
Yeah.
Palo Santo.
Mhm.
Bring a little woo woo into the reading. I normally would play some music. Okay. This first one is the mind, your mind card.
Mm.
Think about the flame as it relates to your mind and this card, which you'll reveal.
I have no idea what this is.
Okay. It looks like the count 'em. It's Pentacles is a suit.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
9 of Pentacles.
Yeah.
Pentacles are pentagrams. They're an earth element suit. Is it 9? Should I check your
You
math?
should check my math. Oh,
Yeah, that's 9.
okay.
Yeah.
So are they? I have never seen these type of cards before. They're all different.
Yeah. They're different than the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. They're unique interpretations of the
Okay.
tarot, and that's a beautiful card. What do you see when you look at it?
Um, hmm. I have no idea.
That's cool. Earth element is Pentacles.
Okay.
It's a feminine or yin energy that relates to our planet as the source of sustenance, security, and stability. And the suit symbolizes physical resources, the body, values, practical concerns, material goods, property, forms of monetary exchange, things that sustain us.
Wait, what is that?
The suit of Pentacles, the all
What does that
Pentacles.
mean, the suit?
The
Like,
Pentacles has 1 through, there's a whole suit of Pentacles. Like in a deck of cards, there's clubs, there's hearts,
oh,
there's spades. These are Pentacles as one suit.
oh,
In the
okay.
minor arcana, there'll be, you know, 1 through 9 of suit of in that suit, and then there'll also be, the royalty cards,
I see. Okay.
just kind of like in a regular deck of cards.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's 10. 10, I'm sorry. There's 10, and then there's the kind of the royalty ones.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
That's the technical term for it.
Mm-hmm.
The royalty ones.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what all of the pinnacles are around, that things that sustain us in this material world.
Okay. Uh-huh.
So 9, if you look at numerology, I use this book to help me because my memory's, still developing with tarot.
Mm-hmm.
The number 9 represents humanitarianism,
Mm-hmm.
compassion, and tolerance.
Hmm.
It also signifies gaining wisdom through experience,
Hmm.
is the numerology of 9.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
It also represents the end of a cycle, tying up loose ends. It can depict fulfillment or completion, a sense of satisfaction that comes from having reached a peak. Because it's like from 1 to 10, you're like kind of at the end of that journey.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9. Let's look at number 9 specifically. Number 9 of Pentacles. If we looked at the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, it might be a little bit more. Oh, this is a good one. Well, I think we had a sense of it being good by the numerology, but it's keywords for this are abundance, material well-being, security, comfort, and success. This is the 9 of Pentacles. Gotta like count them. Some decks, including the Aquarian and the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, which is this deck, depict a woman with a beautiful bird standing in a vineyard. The ripe fruit symbolizes a period of plenty and accomplishment. It's time to harvest your crop. This is your mind card, by the way. 9 represents fulfillment, and this lovely card says you've arrived. You've achieved your goals and now feel secure. You've worked hard, used your skills and acumen, and accomplished much. You have reason to be proud. The upright 9 also represents independence. You've created the life you desire and can now enjoy your success. It says there's a little reading caption here called "A Self-Made Woman." It says some tarotists, including Barbara Moore, author of The Gilded Tarot Companion, see this card as representing the self-made woman, independent of a man's support and rightful proprietor of her own domain. Only 27 years before English-born Pamela Colman Smith began her series of paintings that would become the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. England's Parliament passed the Married Women's Property Act of 1882, which allowed married women to own property.
Hmm.
Before that time, a woman surrendered her holdings to her husband upon marriage, and any property she gained during the marriage became her husband's. Hogwash.
Mm-hmm.
That self-made woman thing seems appropriate, having heard your story. But how does that land for you?
Yeah.
What comes up?
Um, well, it's interesting that the mind part. I think it all kind of lands well, but I'm curious as to like what that means specifically to the mind. And then there was one part in the beginning where you said, like there's a sense of completion.
Yeah.
That seems a little off. I'm like, I don't know about that.
Because you're not done with your LCSW?
Well, and because I have so much more to learn,
Yeah,
every
we're
day,
never done.
every day.
We're never done.
Right. So, this is the same
Yeah,
card, but
that's
that
the Rider-Waite-Smith
okay.
deck card,
Mhm.
just so you can see kind of what
Yeah.
they were talking about. This woman with a beautiful bird standing in a vineyard,
Mhm.
ripe fruit symbolizing a period of plenty. I think you can kind of read more into it. You can look at her facial features and look at
Yeah.
her surroundings and their clothing
Mhm.
to get a sense of what's going on.
Yeah.
Abundance.
Mhm.
Do you feel like you're in a place of abundance mentally?
Mm, yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Like regulating?
Mhm.
Found your way through you found that balance? Found in the new stage, you had that new stage where you're
Mhm.
being challenged in different ways. You found a way to equalize, you
Yeah,
think?
I think so, but it's also, I don't know, I think in other ways I feel more in abundance and more, I don't know. I feel like the mind, that's a tricky one because it's like it's an ongoing process of witnessing patterns and witnessing, I don't know.
Yeah.
So,
It's possible that I got them out of order. We can look at them at the end and
uh-huh.
put them where we want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that I mean, everything that was said lands true, but it's hard for me to see it just specifically in regards to the mind.
I think the self-made woman thing it lands for me. Haven't
Yeah.
heard your story.
Mhm.
Being redundant now. You ready for the next card, or you want to say anything else about that?
No, I'm ready.
This is the body card.
Hmm.
Body card.
Temperance?
Temperance. Okay. What do you see there on that card?
Um, I find this image very confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah, what kind of bird is that? A heron? What is that?
Is that a blue heron?
And then it has drops of water coming from its neck, maybe? And
Let's
then
see.
there's a fire. It's
Yeah. It
beautiful,
is beautiful.
but I have no idea what to make of this. Yeah.
Yeah. What do
Like,
you
I have no
Well, let me let
idea.
you have that beautiful one
Okay.
and then the Rider-Waite-Smith one,
Oh.
so you can kind of get a sense of the more
Hmm.
traditional.
Mhm. One cup filling another cup.
Yeah,
Okay, so what is it? I'm dying to know.
you're dying to know. Moderation, harmony, acceptance, resolution, cooperation, and patience.
Hmm.
This lovely card often features a winged angel, male, female, or androgynous. I guess you get to pick
Mhm.
the original gender fluid.
Mhm.
In the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, the angel stands in a stream bordered by flowers.
Mhm.
The word vessel relates to the great mother god of antiquity, and the human body is often referred to as the vessel of the soul.
Mm.
Thus, both the angelic figure and the cups are symbolic references to the feminine force. Temperance indicates a time of inner growth and outer harmony. You're learning to temper your ego needs with the needs of the spirit within. With patience, you can blend disparate elements of yourself and or your world into a harmonious whole. There's a little reading here. It says patience in all things. The word temperance derives from the Latin temperare, which means to moderate, blend, or mix together harmoniously.
Hmm.
Interestingly, this card was named Time in early decks, which provides a key to its underlying meaning. Temperance encourages patience. Things happen at their own pace, in their own time. This is one of the great lessons of the Zen masters. There are times when nothing can be done and nothing needs to be done.
Hmm.
Body.
Hmm.
What do you make of that?
Hmm. I don't know. I think the interesting part about the like where sometimes nothing needs to be done. Um it's like I can push my body by like there's some days even now when I've done like all this work to kind of slow down, there's some days where I'll get up at 7, go teach a yoga class, go um I don't know, do various things, go to the shelter, go pick up my kids, and I don't sit down or rest until 9 o'clock at night. And so I think my body is yeah, like sometimes there needs to be more balance, right?
Yeah.
Slowing down. And then also like I am in a different phase of my life after having kids. Like my body's totally different, and trying to kind of just find, I don't know, harmony. I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot of different things. I'm ready for the third.
Spirit.
Okay.
Spirit card. What have we here for spirit?
It's a star.
It's a star. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, the star. What do you see there? What's it look like?
It's like a beautiful rainbow-esque star.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, okay, I remember this card. The star. From the
Okay.
major arcana.
Pouring water both on the ground and then back. It looks like maybe back in the stream or the pond.
Mm-hmm.
She's naked.
Hey yo.
Hmm. Hmm.
Happiness, hope, light at the end of the tunnel, good fortune. Overwhelmingly, your pulls have been pretty positive.
Mm-hmm. Have you had some pretty negative ones?
Well, I mean,
I feel like that's
interpretations can be negative. I think
right.
it's always you can always interpret the tarot pulls in ways that go either way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the devil card's harder to figure that out.
Yeah.
The death card doesn't mean you're going to die. It could
Right.
mean the end of something and the start of something new.
Right.
So um, sometimes they're overwhelmingly positive, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes there are like the 4 in numerology or the 5 in numerology can be a time of struggle. You're in
Mm-hmm.
the middle of your journey. You have to
Oh.
learn and overcome the challenges that are part of that undertaking. So
Mm-hmm.
there are cards that have more overt like struggle, suffering, kind of,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
But these don't. These
Mm-hmm.
have all been pretty like positive. This lovely card often portrays a nude female figure in or beside a pool of water. She pours water from 2 jugs or chalices. She pours the contents of one pitcher into a stream and the other onto the ground, showing the connection between the 2 feminine elements, water and earth. Stars shine in the background, sometimes in a circle or a halo-like formation around her. The naked woman represents truth and purity.
Oh wow.
Uh, Satya
Mm-hmm.
and purity.
was like, ooh, he's gonna pull out Sanskrit for.
I didn't know that one. Purity.
Good job.
Do you know how to say purity in Sanskrit?
Cleanliness is like shaucha.
Shaucha.
It could be
Close enough.
Mm-hmm.
The jugs contain the waters of life. We are shooting stars at the harbingers of good luck. We wish upon the star, and the star is a universal symbol of hope. Getting this card is like looking up at the bright starry sky on a clear night and seeing all the magnificence of the universe. This is a time of fulfillment, good fortune, creative inspiration, and spiritual growth. When you receive help from the unseen forces and wishes come true. Hope. This is a quote here in this section says, hope, which whispered from Pandora's box only after all the other plagues and sorrows had escaped, is the best and last of all things. That's interesting.
That is very interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it signals an end to problems and the start of a new, happier phase of life. I think of it as the light at the end of the tunnel card. You've been preparing for this time and now you've arrived. The star shows you're in harmony with your life purpose, using your gifts beneficially. It signifies inspiration, intuition, inner wisdom, and joy. Quote from Helen Keller. Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence.
That's a good one. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah. I think, like, I bet if we had pulled that card 6 months ago, it would have been different, because I think that it's only recently where I feel pretty, I don't know, pretty confident in my ability to feel hope and to feel, yeah, I don't know, amongst like all the challenges of the world, you know. Mhm.
You want to move any of those cards around? Make one the body and one the spirit, or one the...
I don't remember now. I don't remember what any of them were.
I remember. Well, the
You can tell
Pentacles,
me.
Pentacles was mind.
Okay, and that was in brief
Abundance,
abundance. Okay.
the mind, and then
Okay.
then Temperance was patience.
I feel like that needs to be my mind.
Patience is your mind,
Uh-huh.
okay, and then
Yeah.
which one for your body and your spirit?
And then
Abundance
and then what is the star like in one word?
Star was hope, light at the end of the tunnel.
Light at the end of the tunnel. And then this was
This is patience. Oh,
wait.
abundance.
Abundance.
Right? The end of a journey. They're all kind of similar.
Yeah, they're all kind of similar. Yeah, I think like those two are fine with like wherever they're gonna be,
So
and that's just a better one for my mind.
Mind is because patience. You're looking for you're at a place where you're finding patience in your mind, and your body and your spirit can either be abundance or the light at the end of the tunnel. I like that.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah. I've never had tarot done before.
Really?
Yeah. Never had a reading, never. Or wait, maybe once. Yeah.
Well, I like the idea of being the first time you pulled tarot, and we have it on camera. It'll be here. Your tarot reading. Forever. Ever. Yeah. Anything you want to share with everybody before we wrap up?
No.
Yeah?
Yeah. I feel like, yeah. Full circle.
Full circle?
Yep. I don't even know what that means, but yeah.
This has been Phil Phails with Mary Richardson-Perez. She's a founder and co-owner of Studio Satya, yoga teacher and social work intern on her way to being an LCSW. And this has been Phil Phails at Balance. Wave bye to everybody.
Bye.
Are you want a hug, fist bump, or handshake? Or none of the above?
A fist
You
bump.
can do elbow. Boom. That's it. We did it.
Woohoo!
Woo!